This is called the float test. If it sinks, it's fresh. If it floats, air has gotten into the membrane and it's actually bad. So if it floats, like, say like this, or just under the surface, I would toss it. Now, if it stands on end, that just means it's older than a week or two. It doesn't mean it's bad. Because it sank to the bottom, it's still good. I have quite a few eggs to wash today, so I'm gonna do this, and I thought it would be really great to talk about egg washing safety. I get about 10 to 12 eggs a day, so it's not as behind as it looks. You can leave eggs out on the counter for up to a month with no problems at all. Beyond that, I wouldn't sell them. I would just keep them for myself. When you're washing eggs, there's a way to do it that's super, super simple, but I volunteer at a farm and I've seen a lot of people on signs that say wash eggs with cold water. You actually don't want to wash the eggs with cold water. You want to run them under water that is at least 90 degrees. You don't have to take the temperature of the water. All you have to do is make sure it's comfortable for your hand. If it's too hot for your hand, it's too hot for your egg. If it doesn't feel warm or hot comfortably, then it's too cold. I keep my eggs in this basket, and then the eggs I give to the neighbors I put in egg cartons. I don't test my eggs when I'm on top of it. If I know these eggs are from yesterday or the day before or even this week, I don't do this. You don't have to scrub the eggs at all. This one, for example, my chickens decided it would be hilarious to lay an egg in the run on a muddy day. But I'll save that for last so it doesn't contaminate my water, and then I'll just soak it for a minute and then we'll see how it goes. Now, the reason we wash eggs in 90 degrees is because eggshells are very porous. They're not solid, and there's a mucous membrane on the inside, okay? So when you wash an egg in cold water, it creates a vacuum, and any bacteria that's on the outside of the egg, which, let's be real, there's always going to be some. It's chickens, and you know, the chickens. So any bacteria that's on the outside of the egg will then get sucked into those pores with the cold water. When you wash with warm water, it prevents anything from going inside and everything outside gets washed off. So the bloom, which is that protective coating that an egg has that lets it stay out at room temperature for a month, the bloom of an egg will actually protect it from any of the bad stuff going in, and the warm water will wash it all away. It almost has a soap effect. So it'll just wash it all away without any of it entering the egg, and then you have a much safer egg. So always wash your eggs with warm to hot water, not so hot that it burns your hands, hot enough that it's comfortable. I know a lot of people who haven't heard that, and it does seem like common sense to wash an egg with cold water. We keep eggs in the fridge, it just seems logical, but it actually is the opposite. Now, you don't have to scrub the egg. It has a natural bloom. You can kind of tell when it's clean, but it does not need to be scrubbed. It has a little bit of a slippery surface. When it starts to feel less so, but yet isn't completely rough, that's good enough. As long as you don't see any visible dirt, that's good. You don't want to scrub every ounce of bloom off because it's a protection. It's a little coating that protects the porousness of the egg. So you're just going to use some of the bloom to help you wash away the bacteria under running water. You can feel it. You just kind of turn it in your hand. Shake the water off. All done. So when I set up my workstation, I have a towel down on the right-hand side of the sink, and then I put my cartons and my eggs here. And then I have my bowl of warm water in the sink. And then any cracked eggs that I find while I'm washing, broken eggs, or if there were any that would fail the float test, I would put it in the sink to deal with later. I have my eggs that need washed that I just set to the left, clean eggs are on the right, workstation in the sink. That was huge. These are so big. love this acacia wood egg holder. On a good week, when nobody's sick and everything goes well, this is what I keep my eggs on the counter. It is super cute. It's just a board with little divots in it. I like it. I usually stack it 3 high, sometimes more. Yeah, it holds 18, but it holds way more than 18. So it's a good little holder. I love it. Look at that beautiful egg. It's speckled. There it is. Another important note about eggs is, this is huge, when you store eggs in the carton, traditionally I think people like to store them with the fat side down and the pointy side up, but actually they last longer when you store them with the pointy side down. It has to do with the air, because the separation naturally seems to happen at the wider end because it laid pointy end down. So this is the correct way. So you want the air, which is naturally on the fat end, to be up. And the pointy end, which is the end that it was laid by the hen, down. I just love these really beautiful brown ones. They're my favorite. The shells are notably harder on the brown eggs too. But, interesting, at least with my birds, I'm sure other flocks are different. This is a Brahma egg. The white eggs have a much darker yellow yolk, and oftentimes a much larger yolk. But the brown eggs have a much harder shell and seem to keep better. So they each have their pros and their cons. These eggs are my reject eggs, so they all passed the float test, so they're not bad. But for one reason or another, I did not want to feed them to my son or sell them to the neighbors, and I'll show you what I mean. If the camera will focus on this. This was that nasty egg that was left in the run. It looks a little off. It passed the float test, but this thing was nasty, so it's got some mottled coloring to the shell itself. So because of that, why risk it, right? And then this one is not cracked outright, but it has what I call fissure marks, which means, you see that? It's almost cracked, and it's got lines that look like bacteria could get in. It passed the float test. So what I'm gonna do with these eggs, I'm not gonna waste them. I'm gonna scramble these up for the chickens in a skillet because they eat them shell and all. The egg shells actually make future eggs that they lay have harder shells on them. Get a little catnip out of the catnip pot. I like to rub it on them. There you are. Catnip. Let's see what I have. Is that what's happening? You don't like them very much, do you? You'd rather have catnip? I thought so. Okay. They really like when I visit, because it means I have food. Oh, I give you first dibs. Do you want any?